Hi, everyone, and welcome to Café IBTTA. I'm Pat Jones. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning here in Alexandria, Virginia. My guest today is James Hofmann. He's the Executive Director and CEO of the North Texas Tollway Authority. This is actually James's second stint with the authority, having worked there in 2000 to 2007 as an IT consultant, Director of IT, and Director of Business Solutions. James is very active in the tolling industry. He serves on the IBTTA Board of Directors and as chair of IBTTA's Emerging Technologies Committee. James is the immediate past chair of the Central U.S. Interoperability Steering Committee and was a key contributor to the industry's advancement towards national interoperability through the integration of regional hubs. James, welcome to Café IBTTA. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Pat. It's great to be here, and you've had a great run of these sessions and some accomplished folks. So here's to hoping we can keep this moving forward, and we got another great run here today.
All right, very good. Well, James, I want to read a statement today. Today, Samuel Johnson, the president of IBTTA, and I issued a statement on IBTTA's commitment to address racial and social injustice. And the statement goes like this: the IBTTA family in the United States and around the world is outraged and saddened by the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, and the countless number of human beings whose lives have been taken simply because of the color of their skin. We acknowledge that Black lives matter, and that those lives were lost to beliefs, behaviors, and practices founded in ignorance and rooted in systemic racism throughout the United States. In recent days, we've heard from many of you in our IBTTA family. We are grateful for your willingness to share, and we are convinced that this moment calls for each of us to courageously align our words and deeds so that in all we do, our words and our actions center on human dignity, particularly for those to whom it has been denied. IBTTA stands to denounce systemic practices that exclude basic human dignity and equitable treatment for all. As the shock and anger over these senseless killings sweep over us, we must dedicate ourselves to recognizing the past treatment of people who have historically been denied full participation in society. Each of us must commit to deepening our understanding of racial injustice, uplifting human dignity, and fighting racial and social injustice through informed, meaningful, and sustained action. As a start, we are establishing a task force on diversity, social, and racial inclusion. Its mission is to listen to the voices of those in our association and society who truly understand and recognize the depth of the inequity caused by racial and social injustice. With this knowledge, we will work to implement practices and programs that contribute to social and racial justice in our IBTTA family and beyond. The road ahead will be hard, and we will encounter roadblocks along the way. However, we're up to the challenge, and we will work together with all our energy and skill to advance racial and social justice as we move forward on the road to continued excellence. As I said at the outset, that's the IBTTA statement on commitment to racial and social injustice, which IBTTA President Samuel Johnson and I issued today. It's a small step, but it's a step nonetheless. And it puts us on a path to moving IBTTA and all of society toward greater appreciation of the need for racial and social justice. And if everybody in our world takes small steps and continues taking small steps, then next year, 5 years from now, we'll all be in a much better place. So we thank you for supporting us. We thank the executive committee and others for being involved in this, and we hope to take this forward in an effective way. So James, some of your thoughts.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that, Pat. I think it's a great step, like you said. If we can all take our little steps together, we'll move the ball in the right direction. And you know, we're proud of some of the small steps we've taken here at NTTA. You know, we want to make sure we build not only a workforce, but a vendor and contractor and consultant base that that represents the customers we serve and the communities that we serve. And we've got an exceptional business diversity department that works tirelessly with our external business diversity advisory council, with our local communities, and with sister agencies to put an environment together where we can identify and develop and promote relationships and opportunities across all walks of life. And we've got a ROADS program, which is an acronym for Relationships and Opportunities Advancing Diversity. We put that in place in 2008. And since then, we've had 65 pairings of mentor companies and protege companies that have worked together in 2-year intervals to look at for business opportunities, whether they're with NTTA or outside of NTTA, to learn from one another, to establish that relationship, because we are a relationship business at the end of the day. And the program has grown over time. We currently have 17 teams, which is 34 firms in this current program. And, you know, I'm excited to say that we've had 5 proteges that have now become mentors. And it's not just in engineering and construction. We also have maintenance and legal and IT firms that are represented in there. So I got to tip my hat to our business diversity team and thank the BDAC and our board for their continued support and guidance in these small steps that we're taking here.
James, thank you very much, and congratulations to you and your business diversity team, and for the great work you've done through the Roads project. I think, yeah, we're all in many ways on the beginning of this, and we're taking small steps, and we'll strive to continue taking small steps that'll turn ultimately into many big steps.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to do a shout out to E470 Public Highway Authority for sending me this mug. Thanks to Jessica Carson, who was a guest on the show a little while ago, and appreciate the mug. And also a shout out to the South Norfolk Jordan Bridge, operated by United Bridge Partners. This beautiful mug. And thank you to Robin McGreasy, who sent the mug. And I also want to have a big shout out to Malika Setti, who has been the International Vice President of IBTTA. She had been with OSFA, the French Association of Toll Motorway Concessionaires. And now, today, she takes over as Secretary General of ASICAP, the European Association of Toll Motorway Operators. So congratulations to Malika on your new role, and thank you for your great service on the IBTTA board and IBTTA executive committee. Also, a shout out to Renee Moser with the Austrian operator Osfanog. Today, Renee takes over as International Vice President of IBTTA, and we're delighted to have you as part of the executive team. We are taking your questions. We encourage you to use the chat function on your screen to ask your questions or make a comment at any time, and we're going to get to your questions very soon. And I encourage you to set your chat function to all panelists and attendees. Please set your chat function to all panelists and attendees. The default is just all panelists. So set the default to all panelists and attendees. Well, James, NTTA, big operation, leader in tolling in North America. Give us a little sense of your operations. What does NTTA look like, your operations and facilities?
Sure. We're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, for those that weren't aware. We have 8 different roadways that we own and operate, consisting of about 1,100 lane miles. We primarily service Dallas, Denton, Collin, and Tarrant counties. So Dallas and Fort Worth, although we have 2 additional counties, Johnson and Ellis counties, that we have roadways that go within their boundaries. We're all electronic, so we don't have any manned cash booths. We've worked very hard, and we're proud of the fact that we have 82.5% of all of our transactions are based upon toll tags. And so, you know, that was an uphill climb for us once we converted from cash to all electronic. In 2019, we collected $960 million of tolls. So we were looking forward to this year potentially crossing the $1 billion mark on tolls on our roads, but you know, we'll have to wait a few years probably for that now. We have about $9.3 billion of debt. So the region in 2007, 2008 asked us to build quite a bit of roadway, and we did that. And now we have to pay that back. So like many other agencies. One of the things that we're proud of is that we have multiple tolled facilities within our region. We have toll roads that we own and operate, and then we have a series of managed lanes that either TxDOT or Centra own and operate. But we process all the transactions for all of those roadways. And it's important because it's a single billing entity, a single customer service entity, and it creates or it lessens the confusion of who do I need to call if I've got a problem with the toll bill. And so if you look at all of the transactions we've processed last year, between the managed lanes, our roads, and the airports, because you can use your toll tag to park at our 2 main airports, we had over $1.4 billion of transactions rolling through our 4 walls, if you will. So, you know, we're proud of what we have. We're proud of what we do. We serviced almost 16 million unique customers last year. And we pride ourselves on the maintenance of our facilities. We pride ourselves on our customer service that we provide, whether it's on the roadway or in the back office. And everybody who interacts with us has an opportunity to rate us. And we consistently get a score of about 97% customer satisfaction. So we like to tell people we're the Geico of the toll industry. So it's a little bit about NTTA.
That's great. Well, you know, those partnerships, I think, are becoming more and more important, especially yours with other toll operators in the region and with the airports. It really makes it a lot more convenient for the customer to know that there's one place to go to deal with accounts and those kinds of things. And speaking of partnerships and customer service, I have to ask you about COVID-19 and the effects on your operation, both your employees, your traffic, cases that you've had, adjustments that you've made to protect your customers and employees. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure just like everybody else, you know, we had to pretty much pivot in March and April and do things we never thought we would have to do before. I can't tell you how proud I am, though, of the organization and the way we've responded. We created a COVID task force, which is a combination of part of my executive team as well as some select department directors. They started meeting every day at the beginning. We're now down to once a week, and they have to deal with some meaty and beefy issues. You know, we didn't have a work from home program, so on the fly, they had to develop it. What's it look like? They had to work with department directors when we sent about 250 of our 830 employees home to work from home, those that could. You know, they had to develop all of those on the fly. What do safety protocols and guidelines look like here? And they did a fabulous job. You know, decisions that may have taken us months or weeks in the past had to be done in days or hours, and they did a great job. We did send employees home that could work from home. So our IT department over a weekend had to get laptops ready to go, had to make sure people could log in remotely and do it in a secure way, you know, that would protect our digital environment from cyber, you know, crooks, if you will. So we pivoted. We worked, those that had to come here, we made sure we did everything. We're doing everything we can to protect them. We staggered shifts. We socially distanced. So our maintenance and facilities folks went out and made sure that every workspace is 6 feet apart, from its adjacent workspace. Overnight, it drastically changed how we did business, but we're making it just like everybody else is. But one of the things that I think has really helped us is at the beginning, we looked at this and we said, there are opportunities here. And one of those opportunities are we're going to have to create the demand for our product and services. And how do we do that? And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the upcoming roadway operations workshop and at the opening session that Greg Lafroy is facilitating. But we took some strides there, and we actually found that people would engage with us if we reached out to them in ways that we hadn't in the past. So really, really proud of the staff and the position that it's put us in today.
Pivot seems to be a word that everybody's using these days. You've had to pivot, and you've had to pivot fast. And I think you're like a lot of IBTTA members in needing to do that. And the whole notion of taking advantage of an opportunity to create demand seems to be a really sound strategy. We are taking your questions. Our guest today is James Hoffman, Executive Director and CEO of the North Texas Tollway Authority. We invite you to use your chat function to direct your questions to all panelists and attendees. And here's a question from Rush Wicks. What have been the takeaway lessons from the experience of NTTA and establishing toll transponder interoperability with other authorities, both inside and outside of Texas? Are there any future linkages on the foreseeable horizon?
Yeah, that could demand its own 30-minute session. And we may need some therapists there too. Yeah, that's a really good question. For many, many years, the Texas toll agencies were interoperable. And several years ago, we added Oklahoma and Kansas to that mix. We were the first region that stepped out and utilized the national standards for toll interoperability that IBTTA helped facilitate and get those in place. Yeah, we got there. It wasn't easy at times. There was a lot of cussing and discussing, but we had the commitment from the 7 agencies to get there, and I'm proud of what they did and what we've done. We're looking at bringing E470 into the fold here at some point in 2020 or maybe 2021. And our hub is ready to connect in with the Southeast here, hopefully next year. The whole COVID thing has kind of thrown everything, out of schedule, if you will. And we're working with Samuel's team on the West Coast as well to get the agreements in place and hook up with them. So, and I know our technical folks within the Central Region have been working very closely with the IAG team and PJ's folks on helping them with as they need with some technical insight for their RFP for their hub as well. So we're getting there. I think we all would have hoped we were there yesterday, but momentum is still moving forward. So I'm proud to see that.
It's a complicated thing, and there's a lot of moving parts. And I think the effort is proving fruitful. So keep up the good work. Well, you mentioned the technical folks. I want to turn now to technology. You're the chair of IBTTA's Emerging Technologies Committee, which we stood up last year under the presidency of Chris Tomlinson. Talk to us a little bit about that committee, not only what it's doing, but what motivated you to want to serve as chair of the Emerging Technologies Committee?
So I think we're in Baltimore. And when Chris says, please come here, it's kind of hard to say, no, wait a minute, let me grab another beer. No, but he pulled me aside and said, hey, I've got an idea. I think the time is right. to have a group that's focused on emerging technologies. And it's not just technologies in the IT sense. There are innovative things that are occurring in engineering and construction and maintenance, as well as in our roadway operations, and then traditional technology. So, and he said, I'd like for you to do it. And I think that was more of a rhetorical question than anything else. But I was honored. I love the fact that I get the opportunity to help stand this group up and get it on its legs underneath them. We're really focused on investigating and analyzing kind of technology related issues, trends that are out there, so that we can kind of keep an eye on what's coming down the road, if you will, and then bring that back to the benefit of the IBTTA membership. Last year, we had 5 working chairs or working groups. They produced fantastic white papers. This year, we're branching out from the white papers based upon input from the IBTTA membership. And so we're working with your staff to can we get a podcast out there so that people don't have to read a 20-page paper when they're working out on a treadmill or something like that? They can listen to it. So we're looking at doing that. I will tell you, I've been very blessed to have the opportunity to work with the folks that are on the committee, as well as the working group chairs. The working group chairs carry the water. We've got what I call a chief cat herder as well, that keeps us online and moving forward. But what they're going to produce this year and what they're going to accomplish this year in the environments and what we're facing is going to be extraordinary. And it's hats off to those 5 working group chairs for what they're doing and what they're putting together. So we've grown now. We're 250 members. So in 2 years, we've gone from a group of 25 or so to 250. So the demand is there, and Chris was right on target with the time is right.
Yep. Let's go a little bit deeper and maybe even broader in terms of technology. You're a member of the IBTTA board, and you've been very forthright in expressing your thoughts about where the association can get stronger and move different directions to move. And one of the things that you're focused on is attracting to our industry IBTTA companies that are outside of the traditional IBTTA vendor or consultant space. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yes, I'm one of a handful of folks that I think share a similar opinion. The transportation space is changing. It's changing rapidly, and it's being changed by companies and firms and vendors that aren't traditional members or part of our membership base. And they have significant influence in this transportation space. And so I am a big proponent of how can we reach out and try to bring them into the fold. Without doing that, we might run the fear in the long term of having our voice diminished a little bit when we're at the table having decisions that need to be made that could affect us all. And it's the big players. Some of those we started bringing in, but it's also the smaller players, some of the smaller rideshare companies. This is becoming an integrated world, and we need to make sure that we're reaching out to all of the parties and bringing them into the fold.
All right, we are taking your questions with James Hoffman of the North Texas Tollway Authority. We have a question from Ted Hull Ride. He says that major airlines have indicated they do see a return to pre-COVID travel levels, or they don't see it for at least 2 years. How does NTTA see commercial and commuter traffic projection recovery?
Yeah, we're working through that right now, Ted. We're working with CDM Smith, who's our traffic and revenue consultants. We should have a better idea of what that's going to look like later this summer, beginning of the fall. Right now we're hovering right around 70% of what traffic used to look like a year ago. And we've been at that level now for about a month. So I think that we'll probably be there for a while. And maybe the next domino that falls, if you will be the decision on what happens with schools. I think if the schools go back into session, maybe we'll dip, we'll go in the positive direction, I should say, and get a little bit closer to what we had pre-COVID. But right now, all of us are leaning on our traffic and revenue engineers, and as one of our board members says, now they're going to earn their money to help us navigate through this, and see when our revenues will rebound. But I think it'll be several years for sure.
You're a big believer in engagement of as many types of people as possible, professions within IBTTA. And one of the groups that you focused on intently is engineers, finding a place for us to increase the engagement of engineers in IBTTA. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the toll industry has lots of different disciplines and involved in it. And I think that's one of the things that attracted me to the industry, and probably many others as well. We've got, legal staff, we have marketing and advertisements staff and communication staff, we have government relations, we have IT folks, we have the engineers and what have you. And and I'm not an engineer, but my perspective is that, or my perception is, I should say, is that we've lost track a little bit of our practicing engineers. And not necessarily those that are in business development side of things, but the ones that we rely on day in and day out to design, to deliver our projects. And I think if we were to pull some of them back in and ask them, what does improvement look like, if you will? What would make you really interested in, or more interested in IBTTA? Number one, I'm pretty sure they'll tell us. And number two, I think it could be as simple as, having talked with Elizabeth on my team, our chief engineer, as well as some other engineers, what they're really looking for is, what can I learn today that I can utilize tomorrow? Innovations in design, innovations in project delivery, those types of things, discussions on really complex projects. Start bringing some of that back, and I think we'll see a return of some of our practicing engineers. And the good thing is, what we've gone through this year and what you guys have done with technology, I think has opened up a platform for us to reach out and engage with those folks without creating a financial burden on any organization, having to send 20 or 30 people to an IBTTA workshop, let's say.
James, we talk a lot about the IBTTA family, and you've talked about the NTTA family, keeping your employees safe and your customers. Tell us briefly about the James Hoffman family. You got a couple of boys home from college, and they're confronting challenges too with this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, so the last kind of year and a half has been a year of transition. I transitioned into my role now. We became empty nesters. So my wife and I, we kind of worked through what's that going to look like and what have you. And we were absolutely enjoying being empty nesters. I can't tell you how great it was. And then the boys came home. We love our boys, but it kind of put a crink in what we were doing, if you will. So I've got my oldest son graduates from Memphis, University of Memphis, in July with a sports management degree. Unfortunately, there's no jobs right now. So, but he's been able to make lemonade out of lemons. Has a job. He played Division I soccer, so he's coaching now as well. He's a goalkeeper, so he's doing some of that on the side, and he's applying to MBA programs. My youngest one's our social butterfly, and he's going to be a sophomore at Oklahoma State, and this is killing him. Yeah, the fact he had to come home midway through his second semester in college, and who knows if he'll really get to go back for another semester or two. This is killing him. So he had great plans on the social side for college that he's not getting to experience right now, unfortunately. So
yeah. Well, good luck to the boys, and good luck to you guys in adjusting to the non-empty nest.
Yeah.
James, I'm just going to take a short break and make a couple of announcements. First of all, the Toll Excellence Awards deadline is today. It's midnight today, wherever you happen to be in the world. So get your applications in. You know what to do. Next week, July 6th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we have part 2, Bias, See It, Say It, Stop It. This is the second in a series by nationally recognized diversity expert Tracy Brown. Next week, our guest on Café IBTTA is J.J. Eden of the North Carolina Turnpike Authority and also a member of the IBTTA board. We encourage you to register for the Maintenance Roadway Operations Workshop that takes place July 12 through 14. James, as he mentioned, is going to be on the opening panel of that session. This workshop is free to IBTTA members, free. You can't beat the price. So please register and bring as many colleagues as you can. We have 10 hours of Zoom programming that includes webinars and meetups. Check the website for full details. And then finally, listen to some great music. Every Tuesday, IBTTA's own Cheryl Arnold posts a new music playlist that will remind you of what it's like to attend an IBTTA meeting in person. These playlists include 80s and 90s country hits, upbeat, soulful swagger, and 70s mellow refreshment break. Get all the hits from Cheryl by looking on the IBTTA events page or Googling IBTTA playlist. Well, James, it's been great having you on Café IBTTA. Thanks so much for joining us. We encourage all IBTTA members to be safe, keep in touch, and we'll see you down the road. James, thanks so much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.